Okay, everybody, listen, buckle up, okay? We're going to be talking about Noah. We're going to be talking about Noah, and I'm finally doing this because I've been saying to you guys that we need to delve deep into the crux of Noah. So this is part of a whole series. This is going to be the second episode. But today we're doing the story of Noah. In this video, we're going to be doing the story of Noah and how humanity ruined everything, all in the first 6 chapters of the Bible. So check out the first video in the playlist, which will be linked in the description box, to get the full breakdown of exactly what's going down, what's going on, so you can understand. But we're going to be talking everything from the flood. We're going to be talking about the cataclysm from 12,400 years ago. We're going to be talking Nimrod. We're going to be talking mythology. We're going to be talking mysticism and where Freemasonry came from. We're going to be talking sirens. We're going to be talking the Book of Enoch, the Dead Sea Scrolls. It's all coming, so you guys better buckle up. But let's start with a strong foundation, of course, in the Bible and the story of Noah. And before we get into that, we're going to obviously start with a little backstory of what happened in the first 5 chapters before we get to what went down with Noah. If this is your first time on my channel, guys, please hit the subscribe button. I always forget to say that. And actually, people are subscribing at the moment, which shout out to everybody who's here. Like, I'm so happy to have you here. Like, I don't know what's going on, but anyway, welcome to the winning team. For life's a game, let's play to win. Let's get straight into it. So to recap what happens before we get to Genesis 6, which is where the story of Noah is actually going to begin. So we start off, obviously, Genesis 1. The Lord created the world. You know, in the beginning, the world, where is it? I'm messing up the word. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and void, which is tohu wabohu in Hebrew, right? So that's how we started out. We started out with nothingness. The Lord created as he does. He's absolutely incredible. The greatest the greatest scientist, the greatest engineer, the greatest everything, the greatest gardener, the greatest everything of all time, right? Then chapter 2, he rests on the 7th day. He creates man, all of these different things. You know, he has the animals. It's not fit for man to be alone. Creates Eve. Everything's in harmony for all of 2 chapters of the Bible. Now, this is just, again, very telling about the nature of humans. And I just want to say this, guys. Every time I'm talking about the nature of humans, which you will notice me say a lot in this series, but you also hear it a lot in, like, videos I've done before, it's because I'm trying to get people to see that when us really believing that we're inherently good is problematic, and it's not for us to go and like beat ourselves up about like, oh my gosh, I'm the worst thing that ever happened to the world. It's to acknowledge that no, we need God, because without God we will corrupt ourselves. And this is exactly what I'm trying to show here, because I'm about to show you guys how the whole series, the whole point of me doing this and delving deep is to show you guys how nothing new is under the sun. Everything that is happening here, I believe, is exactly what is happening today, and it just keeps happening, the same things over and over again, because we don't learn. Okay? So chapter 3, of course, we have Eve goes to the fruit, Adam listens to Eve, yada, 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 all goes downhill. Entropy enters the system. Time becomes a construct that we are now held against. Death has had the door open to it, and we are now condemned to hell by default. And when I say hell, I believe hell is total chaos. Thus, I say that based on the law of entropy. For those of you who've been here for long enough, you know, if you don't know about all of that, go and watch my God versus Science video, and I have an in-depth explanation there. We get on to chapter 4. We have Cain and Abel. You guys know how it goes. The jealousy. Cain could have just done what Abel did. That's what the Lord told him. But he said, but if you don't listen, sin is knocking at your door. And Cain didn't listen. He killed his brother Abel. And then, you know, there's a whole part in Genesis 4 where Cain is just really regretful about what he did, even though the Lord gave him a warning. This is what I'm saying. It's nothing changes. Adam and Eve were given a warning, did what they did, were hiding in shame. God had to come find them. Cain and Abel. God gave him a warning, did what he did. Now he's again in whatever situation he is. Anyways, so we finish off in chapter 4, which is where I want us to first of all get to. And at the very end, it says... So at the very end, it says, and so this is Genesis 4:25, and Adam knew his wife again, and she bore a son, called his name Seth. For she said, God has appointed for me another offspring instead of Abel, for Cain killed him. To Seth also a son was born, and he called him Enosh. At that time, people began to call upon the name of the Lord. So we are now seeing the beginnings of everything that we see today. What is going on with this freaking... Anyway, chapter 5. So now in chapter 5, we have the whole descendants all the way from Adam through to Noah. A lot of people think that these bits are claggy to read, but if you're one of those people who's not really sure if you believe the things in the Bible, and you feel like it's just some weird spiritual airy-fairy malarkey, and you don't think that it's something that is historical, you should actually read through these parts, because you can then go and cross-reference in the actual history and see how these things all fit in. And like I said, we're going to be talking about a lot of other things, a lot of other books and things that came along. So fast forward, we get to Enoch. who this is at Genesis 5, chapter 23. His days were 365. I mentioned him because he is the great grandfather of Noah, if I'm not mistaken. I'll double check anyways because it's in my notes. Actually, I'll just check it now. Why wouldn't it? Yeah, he's the great grandfather. Perfect. And I'm mentioning Enoch because we're going to be looking at the book of Enoch. We're going to be looking at the book of Enoch because it has a lot to say about what's going on during the times of Noah, and also specifically the watcher angels, the Nephilim, all of that everybody's like, whatever. We're going to be addressing that. So I just thought I'd mention where Enoch is in all of this. And then so after Enoch, and that's what the days of Enoch were 365. Enoch walked with the Lord and he was not, for God took him, as in Enoch never actually died. When Methuselah had lived for 187 years, he fathered Lamech. Methuselah lived, he fathered Lamech for 782 years and had other sons and daughters. Thus, all the days of Methuselah were 969 years and he died. When Lamech had lived for 182 years, he fathered a son and he called his name Noah. So God is very clear can always let us know exactly who was where and where was how and what was happening and how and who came from where. Just like how in the beginning of the New Testament, in Matthew, we get a whole lineage of, where is it? I think it's like, who is it? Who is the starting of the one in Matthew? Hold on, I'll find it. It won't take me too long. It's right here. Son of David. Yeah, all the way from Abraham. Insane, incredible. The Lord is just amazing. Okay, fantastic. So, here, let's read chapter 6 and then we'll delve in. So it says, when man began to multiply on the face of the land, I'm reading the ESV, by the way, and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of man were attractive, and they took as their wives any they chose. Then the Lord said, my spirit shall not abide in man forever, for he is flesh, his days shall be 120. That is the first thing that I find really fascinating about this whole passage, is that like the Lord, after seeing what we was getting up to, and in a minute, I'm going to read from the book of Enoch. Actually, maybe I should read from the book of Enoch now. I'll read it after the next verse, right? The book of Enoch, but we'll come back to that in a second. But I find it interesting anyways, from the biblical standpoint, that God gave us all this time and he's basically like, hey, I'm letting you live like hundreds of years. And all you guys are doing with that is wreaking havoc and causing corruption and being defiant and being degenerate. And like, I'm just going to have to wrap this up like earlier because you guys are just like, I don't know what to do with y'all. You know what I'm saying? And then he goes on to say, verse 4, the Nephilim were on the earth in those days and also afterwards when the sons of God came in to the daughters of man and they bore children to them. These were the mighty men who were of old, the men of renown. The Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every intention of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And the Lord regretted that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him to his heart. So the Lord said, I will blot out man whom I have created from the face of the land, man and animals and creeping things and birds of the heavens, for I am sorry that I have made them. But Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. Okay, so basically what the Bible is saying here is that God is just basically, it says what it says on the tin. I don't need to explain it. There was wickedness. All we did was wickedness. And I want to mention something really important that I say in a lot of my videos, but I especially want to mention now again for anybody who might be seeing this video for the first time. Time and time again, like a lot of people look at the Bible with the wrong viewpoint, if you ask me, with the wrong perspective, right? Because for me, the Bible is is like a great book to study humans, to study people as a whole. I love to study people anyway, but to study people because God has given us free will, right? He's given us free will and he's not reigning through terror as much as people like to act like he does. That's a lot of things that is to do with Christian religious folks that are being very legalistic, which all of that has nothing to do with God, by the way. He's not leading. He's like, the thing about God that's more dangerous about him than other gods, and I think that's actually why Christianity has a potential to look weak when people don't take God seriously and truly fear him, is he isn't forcing you to do anything at all. He's like, here's the story, here's the options, and here's the results of your two options. You do what you want to do, but just know that there's consequences. And I will tell you what the consequences are. Adam and Eve, you've got the tree of the knowledge of good and evil and the tree of life. Go for the tree of knowledge of good and evil if you want. I'm just telling you, you will die. That is your decision. You're choosing to do that. God isn't shoving us down to hell. God isn't whatever. We choose this for ourselves. I really want to clarify this because I'm sick of people being like, and God's going to send you to hell. No, we send ourselves to hell. We send ourselves, right? Same with the tree of life. The tree of life was there. So people be like, oh, God sent you to hell. No. There was a tree of life you didn't choose to take. So why are you blaming God for your poor choices? Exactly. And this is how we find ourselves. So that's why I'm saying with all of this stuff with humanity, it's always this kind of tale of how we have our own rights. We have our free will and we use it poorly. And then we find ourselves in these predicaments. So when God has left us to our own devices on this planet that he created, he spent all this time creating out of nothing. This is what we decide to do instead of respecting the world and instead of loving looking after the animals. I mean, even if you look historically in even in the place like where I live now, I've been thinking a lot about how there's such a lack of wildlife because historically so much of the wildlife has been killed. So I'm like, this is what we do when we're left in this planet is we wreak havoc, and it's not God forcing us. It's not even the devil we can bother because it's us doing it. So anyway, that's that. So then he says he's going to blot everything out. He regretted what he did, right? We need to start again because it's going too far, too fast. Then we get on to verse 9. These are the generations of Noah. Noah was a righteous man, blameless in his generation. Noah walked with God, and Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Now the earth, and interestingly, those 3 sons basically went to 3 different thirds of the world each, and that's where we all came from, essentially. Now the earth was corrupt in God's sight, and the earth was filled with violence. And God saw the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted their way on the earth. And God said to Noah, I have determined to make an end of all flesh, for the earth is filled with violence through them. Behold, I will destroy them with the earth. Make yourself an ark of gopher wood. And then he goes on now to explain how to do it. And then I'll skip to verse 17. For behold, I will bring a flood of waters upon the earth to destroy all in which is the breath of life under heaven. Everything that is on earth shall die, but I will establish my covenant with you, and you shall come into the ark, you, your sons, your wife, and your sons' wives with you. And of every living thing of all flesh you shall bring 2 of every sort into the ark to keep them alive with you. They shall be male and female, of the birds according to their kinds, and of the animals according to their kinds, of every creeping things of the ground according to its kind. 2 of everything shall come into you to keep them alive. Now, I just want to point out something else quickly here before we continue, because this is going to be a hint as to how I'm going to develop this whole theory I have about what exactly is going on in the ocean and in the seas and in the water and this flood and the cataclysm from 12,400 years ago and the sea people and all of these different things, these mythologies that are supposed mythologies. I'm going to base this off of this. Notice here how already in verse 20, God hasn't specified that the creatures in the sea are going to be killed. That's what I just want to first of all clarify. He has not said anything about the whatever is in the sea. He said the birds, according to the birds of their kinds, the animals to their kinds, the creeping things, and every one of its kinds. However, previously when the Lord, and this is just me, noticing the tiny little details what the Lord is saying. You notice when God, other times when God is talking about all the creatures. Hold on a minute. Let's see. Where is it? He will include the fish of the sea. Aha. Listen to this. So in Genesis chapter 1, in verse 27, so God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them. And God blessed them. And God said to them, be fruitful, multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the birds of the heavens and over every living thing that moves on the earth. So he's saying the sea, the earth, and the heavens, right? So the air, ground, and ocean. Here, when we're in Genesis 6, where we're talking about the corruption, the only things that are being blotted out other than the ones that are on the ark itself are the things on the ground and the things on the air. The things in the ocean, whatever's in the ocean, has not been accounted for at all. And I believe that God does a lot of these things. Like, this is why I really, truly believe that God is absolutely genius. And this has to be the writings of the work of God, because you guys will see anyway, we'll develop into the theory. Verse 7, then the Lord said to Noah, go, wait, did I even get to this part? Keep them alive. Oh yes, verse 21. Also take with you every sort of food that is eaten and store it up. It shall serve as food for you and for them. Noah did this. He did all that the Lord commanded him. Then the Lord said to Noah, go into the ark, you and your household, for I have seen that you are righteous before me in this generation. Take with you 7 pairs of all clean animals, the male and his mate, a pair of animals that are not clean, the male and his mate, and the 7 pairs of birds of the heavens, also male and female, to keep their offspring alive on the face of all the earth. For in 7 days I will send rain on the earth for 40 days and 40 nights, and every living thing that I have made I will blot out from the face of the ground, from the face of the ground. And Noah did all the Lord had commanded. Noah was 600 years old when the flood of the waters came upon the earth. And Noah and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives with him went into the ark to escape the waters of the flood. Of the flood. Sorry, I was going to skip, but I think I'll just read. Of clean animals and of animals that are not clean, and of birds and of everything that creeps on the ground. Oh, he could have just left spiders out. Bruh, he could have just left out the friggin' spiders. But anyway, he was obedient. We must be obedient. And after 7 days, the waters of the flood came upon the earth. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, on the 17th day, on that day, all the fountains of the great deep burst forth, and the windows of heaven were opened. I want to point out quickly as well that notice how God is very, God is very clear to tell you, here's a date and a time, and it so-and-so was this age, and they did this for this number of days and for this amount of time and for this. So you can actually go and study it for yourself. A lot of things that people have against God, I've noticed, you haven't bothered to actually go and try and hear out what he's actually said and look into the things he's saying, because he's giving you a lot of information. You can then go and track back in history, and you can go and look back and see if it all makes sense and if it matches up. Which, if you guys watch my previous series I just did, about the whole entire Bible explained, and I included in there a lot of how history was lining up with the exact same things that are written in the Bible. So just to put that out there as well, just as a recommendation. But yes, the heavens the burst open, and now we're going to talk about this, because am I talking about this in a separate video or in this video? Because I want to talk about this because yeah, we'll talk about it. We'll just do the story as a whole for now. Yeah, we'll do the story as a whole for now from the biblical perspective, and we'll come back to the other parts. So, where was I? Where's the burst of heaven? And so we're verse 12 now, chapter 7. And rain fell upon the earth for 40 days and 40 nights on the very same day. Noah and his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and Noah's wife, and 3 wives of his sons, with them entered the ark, they and every beast according to its kind. Livestock according to their kinds, and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth according to its kind, every bird according to its kind, every winged creature. They went into the ark with Noah, 2 and 2, all flesh in which there was the breath of life. Everything that is the breath of life. So we're not talking about gills. Yeah. Just stay tuned, you guys. And those that entered, male and female, of all flesh, went in as God had commanded them, and the Lord shut him in. The Lord shut him in. He said, yeah, listen, I'm going to have to lock you in. Imagine hearing the Lord shut you in the ark. I would just, do you know what? We need to stop and think, and I just envision, looking out the window, being in the ark and, looking out the window and seeing what's going on and what the Lord's doing. And imagine being Noah as well, because this is something I think as well that we don't give enough credit to the people of the Bible for, especially people in the body of Christ be like, oh my gosh, Noah. I'm like, were you prepared to be a Noah? Because Noah looked like a crazy dude building this ark for 120 years for something that ain't nobody understanding is even about to finna happen right here and now. And everybody's just kind of like, why is this dude so obsessively building a freaking ark for 120 years? You know what I'm saying? It takes serious obedience. We're going to talk about the character of Noah as a separate video, because I think there's so much we can learn from him, especially in times of today, because I truly believe we're living in the days of another version of the days of Noah, and I'll explain why in the upcoming videos. So, the verse 17, the flood continued for 40 days on the earth. The waters increased and bore up the ark, and it rose high above the earth. The waters prevailed and increased greatly on the earth, and the ark floated on the face of the waters. And the waters prevailed so mightily on the earth that all the high mountains under the whole earth were covered. The water prevailed above the mountains, covering them 15 cubits deep, and all flesh died that moved 15 cubits was about, it says in my Bible, 18 inches or 45 centimeters. Okay. Where was I? And all the flesh died that moved on the earth, birds, livestock, beasts, and all swarming creatures that swarm on the earth, and all mankind. Everything on the dry land in which whose nostrils was the breath of life died. He blotted out every living thing that was on the face of the ground, man and animals and creeping things and birds of the heavens. They were blotted out from the earth. Only Noah was left, and those who were with him in the ark. And the waters prevailed on the earth for 150 days. So a lot has gone down here. We've had the whole entirety of the flood. It's all happening. It's all here and now. And the Bible speaks for itself there. There's nothing really much that I can say about that other than let's just keep thinking about this idea of the unaccounted for group of so-called creatures that was in the ground, in the ocean, in the waters, in the seas. So fast forward, I've written in my notes here where we should go. So then we finish off in chapter 8, verse 13. In the 601st year, in the first month, the first day of the month, the waters were dried from off the earth, and Noah removed the covering of the ark and looked, and behold, the face of the ground was dry. In the second month, on the 27th day of the month, the earth had dried out. Then God said to Noah, go out from the ark, you and your wife and your sons wives with you. Bring out with you every living thing that is with you, of all flesh, birds and animals, and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth, that they may swarm on the earth and be fruitful and multiply on the earth. So Noah went out, and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives, every beast, every creeping thing, and every bird, everything that moves on the earth, went out by families from the ark. Okay, so we are going to leave this part here because I'm going to come back to the covenant with Noah and the rainbow in the future. I would like to come back to that in the future. What I will point out is that in the next chapter, he does say, this is God, and God blesses Noah in chapter 9. And his sons, and said to them, be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth. The fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth, and upon every bird of the heavens, upon every thing that creeps on the ground, and all the fish of the sea. And again, I'm saying this to you guys because we're going to come back to that. So this is the basis of the story of Noah. The world is wicked. The world has very wickedly rebelled from the things of God. We started off going downhill and we're only going further. That's the nature of the law of entropy, right? We're always moving closer to disorder than to order. That's literally the law of scientific law of entropy. But I believe started with Adam and Eve. For those of you who've been here for long enough, if you don't know, like I said already, please check out my God versus Science playlist. So now we're going to read from the book of Enoch. Now, let's just recap quickly something because I don't want people to get misconstrued with what I'm about to do here. First things first. The book of Enoch is a book written by, obviously, from Enoch's, what he saw, what he experienced, the great-grandfather of Noah. At the time, he didn't die. He actually went to be with the Lord. That's what the Bible says, like he was not, as in he just wasn't here. He just wasn't. But he didn't die, he just wasn't, as in he just no longer existed here because he just went straight to be with the Lord like Elijah did. It was a similar like that, just straight to the Lord because that's what the Lord decided to do. Because, Enoch was also righteous in the sight of the Lord. And Enoch plays a big part, according to the book of Enoch, which you can kind of see as kind of like a commentary / historical type of text for what happened. It is not a biblical text, as in part of the biblical canon, I believe, but the Bible does refer to it. So here we go. So we're in chapter 10 of the book of Enoch, and this is just a little bit more in detail exactly what went down in all of this. And I just thought it was interesting to kind of start to introduce some of these ideas here. So in the book of Enoch, chapter 10, then said the Most High, the Holy and the Great One, spake and sent Uriel to the son of Lamech. So Uriel being one of the angels, and said to him, go to Noah and tell him in my name, hide thyself, and reveal to him that the end is approaching, that the whole earth will be destroyed, and a deluge is about to come upon the whole earth, and will destroy all that is on it. And now instruct him that he may escape, and his seed may be preserved for all generations of the world. So this is really interesting because, this is, again, the reason why I actually think that this actually does go with the biblical story is obviously in the Bible, it says that God told Noah, right? But we know that God stopped speaking directly to man with Moses, because that's what the Bible says, that after Moses, God was like, I ain't talking to you folks one-on-one no more until y'all finna come and be with me up here in heaven because y'all the ghetto. You know what I'm saying? And so that runs true, that God would have sent an angel on his behalf to deliver the message. Of course, that's what a lot of things what angels do, right? They deliver messages. And also the kingdom of darkness does that. That's why I believe that so many of the other so-called religions and belief systems, they'll talk about how there was an angel that came upon us. See how the devil is the ultimate copycat. He doesn't do anything new. He just copies what God is doing. The same way that God sends his angels to give messages on his behalf, the same way that the devil will send messages, but he'll just claim that it's coming from God. Now, arguably, and this is the scary part, especially when you think about people in the world who like to say, I like to thank God. Yeah, listen, the devil is a god, and all those other, like, whatever we're going to come to's creatures, like the agents of Satan, which we're going to address in this series, they are considered gods, lower G gods, as a lot of Christian folks would say, right? They're considered gods. So sometimes when people say, I'm thanking God, they're thanking their own God, not God of the Bible. And this is why I also believe that a lot of times in the scriptures, in the Bible, a lot of people would specifically state God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Like, and they'll say God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Again, what's a really interesting twist on that when it comes to Islam is they'll say God of Abraham, Isaac, Ishmael, and Jacob. Even though, according to the biblical scripture, Ishmael was not the son of promise, Isaac. Ishmael was the son of the lack of belief in God's promises from Sarah. So you see what I'm saying, where we have to be really, really careful about what we're saying when we mean these words. We're saying gods and people's gods and all of this, just to say. Anyways, so where are we? And now instructing that we escape. And that his seed may be preserved for all the generations of the world. And again, the Lord said to Raphael, another angel, bind Azazel hand and foot and cast him, abide there forever, and cover his face that he may not see the light. So you guys are gonna hear about Azazel in a little bit when we go into the book of Enoch in a couple of videos. Azazel is one of the angels that went against God, and we're gonna go into all these watcher angels. Each of them had their own specific like form of intelligence that they had, and what they decided to use it for, and how that relates to the world we have today, civilization, history, what's in the ocean, mysticism, Freemasonry. It's all linked to all of this. So stay tuned. It's going to be a lot to take in, but I'm breaking it all down in this series for you guys. So, so bind Azazel hand and foot and cast him into the darkness and make an opening in the desert, which is in Judea, and cast him therein and place upon him rocks and jagged rocks and cover him with darkness and let him abide there forever and cover his face that he may not see light. Now, we'll come back to all of this in the future videos, right? I just wanted to, first of all, give you guys that, yes, according to the book of Enoch, it's also talking about basically what happened with Noah and how we got to the kind of stage one of the process, right? So yeah, all it took was six chapters for the world to be in total, complete pandemonium, and for the Lord to have to say, listen, I'm going to have to just wipe y'all out and start again. And what we're going to talk about in a minute, actually, should be the next video. Hold on, where's my biblio? In my next video, well, at some point we're going to talk about Nimrod. Actually, I think we're going to talk about Nimrod next because it's the most logical. No, we'll talk about Nimrod at some point. I think we're going straight to Noah. So in the next video, we're going to talk about Noah and his character as a person, right? And what it is about him that's observable from the Bible and just in lots of different ways, why he is such a significant character, but also why he's a character we should really be thinking a lot about and learning a lot about in the world we're living in today based on the circumstances. Because I don't know if you guys have looked left and right and up and down and online and around you and in your communities and in your homes and in everywhere, but things is crazy out here. You know what I'm saying? So I do believe we're in the days of like a Noah type of vibe where, you know, Noah-like things could happen. Obviously the flood isn't going to happen again because, you know, the Lord promised it wouldn't, which we'll come back to the promise of the Lord about that. Other than that, buckle up and stay tuned. We're going to continue on. We'll be talking about we're talking about the character of Noah and what it is about Noah that made hits, because it's really important, I think, when you're trying to ask the Lord to do certain things in your life, the Lord is also going to ask of you. So anyways, you guys, buckle up and stay tuned. I hope that was helpful as a little bit of the backstory as to how we got to Noah from the very beginning, the story of him. The story is not yet over because there's so much more to unpack. Buckle up and stay tuned. The whole playlist is going to be in the description box below. Don't forget to subscribe, like the video. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, because if life's a game, let's play to win. God bless every single one of you guys watching this, and I'll see you in my next one. Goodbye.